Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. On today's video, it's just going to be a short one. I'm starting the new series of the individual rigs. Now, I did a video, I think it was maybe 6-7 months ago, on I think it was my top 3 rigs and how to make them, and that video has had quite a lot of views. So I mentioned it a couple of times, here and there on my session videos, that I was going to be doing individual, short, quick videos detailing how, some of the rigs that I make. Now, full disclaimer, the way I tie a rig and the way somebody else ties a rig can be completely different. Although the principles will be the same, different people do a lot of different things, and the joy about rigs is, your possibilities are endless almost. You can chop and change, you can change the material you're using, you can change the hook size, the hook, barbed, barbless. There's so much you can do, so don't think that just because I'm showing you how I do it, that's, the standard, if you like. A lot of people do stuff differently, and the principles are what we're looking at here. You guys that are seasoned anglers, this video isn't really necessarily aimed at you, but it's maybe to the people that use pre-tied rigs and they want to get into making their own, or maybe you just want to have a browse or something, rig related, and see, oh, do you know what, I want to try something different. Now, a tip that I've always been given and has always worked relatively well for me is stick to rigs that you're confident in. And I must say, no matter how many rigs I've used and chopped and changed and done different things, the rig that's always worked for me is the standard hair rig. Now, there's so many different variations, if you like, of this. How long is the rig itself, what the material's made of, do you strip the end, how long the hair is, do you put a small little piece of silicone tubing on there, just to keep that hair pinned, how big the loop is at the end, stuff like that. There's a lot of different variables, and if I'm being honest, don't get too caught up on them. The key thing is, is that you've got a rig at a reasonable length. Have a look what you're comfortable with. Maybe using the pre-tides, they'll be set at a certain length, and just go from there really. My personal opinion, I like to use roughly a 6-inch rig, and the way I measure that is from the eye of the hook to the end of the loop, and I normally try and keep it somewhere around 6-inch. That works for me. Some people like shorter rigs, some people like longer rigs. That's what we're going to look at today. We're starting off very simple with the standard hair rig. Right, so like I mentioned, just before we go any further, I just want to point out, that whether you're using barbed or barbless hooks, always make sure you check your fishery, that you're fishing at. Make sure the rules allow you to use what hook you're going to use. Some only allow, barbless, some actually only prefer you use micro barb, so it all depends. Others won't let you use certain, leaders. I know that's beyond the scope of this video, but any fishing that you're going to, always check the fishery rules, and definitely jump on Facebook and try and get any hints and tips from people that have fished that venue before. I thought I'd choose a nice easy rig to kick us off, and we're going to go through detailed step by step how I do it. I'll mention a few variations of what you can do, and we'll take it from there. Right, so let's jump into it. So to start off, we have a few items that we need to make this rig. So first of all, we have a baiting needle. I prefer this style just for threading on your hook baits onto your hair. So we've got our baiting needle, let's put that to the side. Also got 2 rig puller tools, like knot pullers, just to put some tension under your rig, just to get everything nice and straight. Then we have some scissors. If you haven't seen the video I did on these Gardner Ultra Blades, definitely check that out. I'll put a little link up there. But these are, really good, cutting, braid, coated braid, kind of stuff. So put them to the side. We've also got our hook link materials. Now, I'm not pushing any brands here, but these are just the ones I use. and I find that they work for me. So we've got the JRC Cocoon Gravel and Sand, and that is the strippable coated hook link braid. That's in £15. I really like this stuff. We have the Corda N-Trap semi-stiff in £20. This is a weedy green. I think you can get a gravel brown as well, if I'm correct. Again, you know, good stuff. Now, I just want to say, obviously, there's lots of other companies that do, you know, decent hook link material. And, you know, when I do get round to getting some from other companies, you know, I'm not against using them. What works, works, that kind of thing. So, we've also got the hook that we're going to use. Now, for the purposes of this, I am using a Corda curve shank size 6 in barb, sorry. Now, you know, it's just a hook that I've got on with, and you know, there's lots of, you know, end tackle companies, and they all do pretty decent stuff. So, you know, this is just a pattern I like. We've also got a few options for silicone tubing, so come in all different, you know, colours. You know, you get tungsten, you get, you know, non-tungsten, you get, you know, partially clear, you know, like this. Then you get your solid colours. So it's really what you want to use, really. There's no necessarily right or wrong answer with these. You're only using a small section. So put them to the side, and we have a anti-tangle sleeve. So, you know, standard anti-tangle sleeve. We also have some boilie stops. Now, these come in, you know, different shapes. I've just got 2 out, as you can see. These are really small, so I really like them. That's kind of the length of one, whereas these are a little bit bigger. But, you know, all the same, they do the same job. So it's just a matter of personal preference and presentation, how you want it to be. Then we have our silicone, well, shrink tube, if you like. These again come in, you know, different diameters. You know, they come in a bit of a longer length. This is just a piece that I have, and you know, I just use this for the end of my hook eye there. Just creates a bit of a kicker. So it's only a very small piece that just goes over the eye of the hook, and just a small portion there. So again, this comes in, like I said, different colours. You can get it in clear, you can get it in, you know, this green colour. I think you can get it in all sorts of different colours. Yep, and then we just have our hook baits. Now, this is just my one that I'm doing. So I'm going for a snowman setup here on my rig. Now, you could do it with just a bottom bait, you could just do it with a pop-up, you know, you can do it with a wafter, you know, the possibilities are endless. But it's good to have the hook baits that you're going to use when you're making your rig, as to get the hair length, you know, to the correct size. So if I just made this one up without, you know, measuring on my hook bait, I know that that's not going to fit, because if you look at that, it's too small. So it's always good to have your hair rig material that you're going to be putting onto it, i.e. your baits, to hand when you're making it. So yeah, right, let's get into it then. So for me, I always like to get my ruler, it's off my rig tray, and then get the material that I'm using. Like I said, in this instance we're going to be using the cocoon, and I just pull off, you know, X amount of it. So in this instance, let me just turn this rule around, I would probably strip off maybe 10-11 inches. Once you've, you know, made a few, you know, it's no biggie. You can, you know, cut down your wastage and, you know, save more material. So we've got our length of hook link that we're using. This is the coated braid, and then normally what I like to do is just strip off a certain amount of it. So I'll probably do, let's have a look, probably take off 100 mil. We'll go 110 mil or if you want that in inches, I think that's roughly about somewhere around 5 inches. So it's I think it's about 4.5 inches. So just strip that off. Now you can use tools to strip this. I didn't put it in the list because you don't necessarily need it, but I do have a stripper tool. But depending on the coated the coating material, you can just literally whip this round here, pinch your nail in, and simple as that, you've just pulled the material off. So if you look at that now, we've got a very nice stripped area there. Now I'm going to create the loop first for the bait. Now with the bait we're going to use is going to be these two. So what I would tend to do is try and make the knot of my loop so that it fits just inside this bottom bait. And the reason for that is if the loop here is just kind of small and ends there, you're going to have the knot just kind of sat, and then the hole that's created by the bottom bait's going to be able to move around a little bit. So what I learned was to create a bit of a bigger loop so that the knot actually sits inside the bottom bait. So a loop, it does seem a bit big, but it just works for me. Might not work for you, but it's always worth a try. So what I would do is just create my overhand loop knot in here, and then grab my needle and just pop it through, grab the material. I've done this 100 times, but you know that when you're doing it on camera it never works. So there we go. So just pulling that in, and then I'll just pop my needle through here, and as you can see the loop is there. Now just give that a bit of a pull just to make it tight, and then pull the tag end also, and then I'm just going to offer that up. And if we look at that now, we can clearly see there's the bait, and that knot is going to sit just inside the bottom bait, so that's good for us. We're then going to take our scissors and just trim that tag end off. There we go. And then we've got a nice and neat loop. Just get rid of your tag end, put it to one side, and then what I'm going to do now is just thread on my bait. So whatever it may be, obviously the top bait wants to go on first, and then your bottom bait wants to go on after that, like so. And what I'm going to do is just simply take that hair that we made earlier, and I'm just going to thread the tip straight through the loop just so it can grab like that, and then we're just going to thread them down just till it pops out, but don't pull too much because you don't see how the bottom bait holds now. It's not sliding down the line at all, well, down the hair shall I say. And then just leave a big enough gap that you can just pop your tiny hair stop in there, like so, and then just push them baits back up. Now what I'll do, I'll just cut this off, so we're just left with the single bait stop, and just put them to one side. So now we know that our the hair for our rig is long enough. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small piece of the silicone tubing. So like I said, there's loads of different colours on the market. It's whichever one you prefer, whatever's best for you. I'm just going to take a piece of the green translucent, I think it's called, and I'm just literally taking the tiniest smidgen, really, maybe a little bit more than that. Just I think that may be 3 or 4 mil, and then once you've taken it off, you've got your small piece, just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to thread this down. If I can grab hold of it, move that to the side. So we're just going to thread this straight down the other end of our rig. Just pop it through the hole, and then all the way down. Should end up with it looking like that. Then what we're going to do is just take our hook. Now, you probably already know this, but I'll say it anyway. Always be careful, you know, when you're messing with hooks. They are very sharp, and, you know, a barbed hook as well is even worse, because if you do get it stuck in your finger, it can be a bit of a nightmare to get out. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold the bait just upside down like this, and then we're going to grab our hook, and what we're going to do is, being very carefully not to nick the actual braid, we're going to just slot the hook just through the actual silicone tubing, and you're just going to pull it down just past the barb, or, you know, if it's barbless hook you're using, then no worries. And what we're going to do then is just pull this bait that we've just put on all the way to where we want it. So I do like to have a little bit of a gap, you know, nothing major. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this, the other end of this, and we're just going to slot it straight through the eye of the hook, like so. Then you should see that that's the rig, that's what it's going to look like. And, you know, you can adjust if you need to, if you want it to be a bit longer, you know, the hair, a bit more play. If you want it to be a bit shorter, you know, you can pull it quite tight. It's all a matter of personal preference for the most part. And so I think, for me, I think that's quite okay, because on the deck, that's going to sit, and my little snowman rig is going to sit up like this. So once I've got it to the right, you know, length that I want it, I'm just going to pinch it here, and I'm just going to go around the hook. I'm just going to pull this down a little bit. I'm just going to go around the hook once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. That's all I do. You know, there is a standard where you do it a bit more than that, but I just do 4 times. Then I just loop it back on, and then put my tag end back through like so. And then when you pull tight, you see that there is a very small breakage just there to give it that bit of flexibility, and there we go. So far we've got a hook on, you know, we've got a bit of flexibility there, and what we're going to do next is put on our small bit of shrink tubing. So we're going to grab the shrink tubing like this, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take, you know, maybe 6-7 mil. Let's have a measure, see what it's at. So yeah, I'm putting that at 7-8, between 7 and 8 mil. It's only a very small piece, like so, and we're just going to thread it down this section. If I can get it on there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to slide that over the hook. We're going to leave that there for now, because we don't need to do anything with that just yet, because we can finish the rig and then we can take it to steam it over the kettle, which I'll show you that process. Now what I'm going to do is just grab that anti-tangle sleeve from earlier, you know, just a simple anti-tangle sleeve. I'm just going to thread that down the hook link. So we've got our anti-tangle sleeve on, we've got our small piece of silicone tube in there, and then what I'm going to do is get my rig to the length that I want. Like I said, you know, this varies from person to person on what somebody wants, so it all depends on what you're after. So literally it's going to be a small loop like so, and then what we're going to do is we are just going to loop it round like so, and then tuck it around the back. And let me just make that a little bit bigger. We're going to create the loop, loop it around the back, grab our baiting needle, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go through the back of that. There we go, it worked. And what you're going to do is just pull it down, and what you're left with is a nice loop there. And basically that's going to be used on your quick change swivel. That's my preferred method. Now there is other ways, you know, of tying this. You don't have to tie this loop, you could just tie it straight on, but I think a lot more nowadays, a lot of anglers are trying to go for something that can change quickly. you know, if they might have, you know, a couple of these tied up ready, and you know, they catch a fish, unhook it from there, and you know, just clip another one on and carry on again. So now we'll get our pulley tools, and we're just going to put one end through here. Just put that on there, and then the other end we're going to grab onto the hook itself. And what we're going to do here, we're not trying to, you know, pull it too hard. We're just trying to seat everything and, you know, get everything to sit nicely. I'll just move this out of the way a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're just pulling, just applying gentle pressure, almost like as if it was a spring, and you're just pulling the spring, and it just seats everything nicely. What you'll notice is, after you've done that, is that for 9 times out of 10, the hair will, because it's pulled round, it looks like it's exiting from the side. So what you then can do is, you can just pull this hair back with this to create a very small little opening there, and just hook your tool in, or your needle. You know, it's not specific, you don't have to put anything specific in there. And what you're doing is you're just pulling this back round to the back of the hook. Now this isn't an issue too much, because your very small bit of silicone tubing will make sure that it always exits the right way. But what you want is, you want to get your hair to sit on the back of the hook, like so. And then we'll just trim this tag end off here. Like so, and then you're left with a nice little loop for attaching to your quick change swivel. And you've got your anti-tangle sleeve there. So, you know, you can have them tied up in your rig wallet ready, and you could just remove your baits, and you know that this is the bait you're going to be using along with this bait, and you know that it's going to be sat perfectly. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to head over to the kettle, stick it on, and then what we'll do is we will steam this over the eye and just give it a bit of a kicker. So we'll show you that process now. Now please do be careful, obviously, when using any hot water or steaming your rigs, as you know, it's very easy to get burnt. But what we're going to be doing is, once the kettle has boiled, we're going to be holding our rig over the kettle's, you know, the spout, and what we want to do is just position our silicone tubing just so it's just over the eye of the hook, with a little bit sat over. Let me just get that in focus. A bit similar to this, just so it's covering the few threads of the whipping of the hair, and then there's also like 3 or 4 millimeter coming off the end of the hook onto your, you know, your rig itself. Now what you're going to be doing is, please do keep your fingers well out of the way. So almost put your hand at the back, and then hold the very end of your rig in your other fingers, and you're just going to hold it over the spout of the kettle, being very careful. And then what you want to do straight away is just watch your fingers, as it's very hot, but then once it's warmed up, you just want to pull this round a little bit, just so it's almost a bit of a kicker. Just hold it there for a few seconds, and then when you let go, you should see that you've still got that lovely shape to the rig. If I can hold that there straight. As you can see, it just keeps the gape of the hook just that bit wider, and basically when your bait's sitting, you can just see that it just, you know, elongates it a little bit more. And the effect of what you're looking for really is, I'll just move this out of the way a little bit. What the thing that you're after is, with all rigs, is the turning of the hook. So you want the hook to turn and grab, and that's the idea of this. And the kicker that we've just added on here just helps that hook turn a little bit quicker. As you can see, it's turning straight away and trying to grab my hand. Do be careful when doing this, don't pull too hard, as you know, it can hurt. But what you're after is that your hook spins round every time and grabs, and what you're doing is you're imitating a carp's mouth almost, if you like, on how likely that hook is to turn once it's, you know, scooped the boilies into its mouth and just grabbed. You know, try this a few times and you can see straight away the hook's turning. So the hooking properties for me on this rig is very good. We'll just try it once more. See, it didn't work that time. So, you know, it's not going to work every time, but most times, you know, that is pulling and spinning straight away and going straight into my hand. So that's it. This is the rig. We started, we did our hair, we then used our bottom baits to create our hair length. We used a small piece of the silicone tubing to basically pin our hair and give it the exit point that we want. We then moved on to the small piece of the shrink tubing. We've then got our length of material, and then at this end we have our anti-tangle sleeve, and then our simple figure of 8 loop knot, which then, you know, is going to clip onto our quick change swivel. And that is literally it. Now I've always got a few of these tied up in my rig wallet, you know, to the standard size of 15mm bottom bait with a 12mm or 10mm, you know, small pop-up, because I use them quite a lot. And I've always got a few of them tied up in my wallet, you know, ready for when I need them. Right, well, that's it for this one, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I was in depth enough for you, just on the simple hair rig. I'll be doing more videos, you know, of the other rigs, and that's really it. I've just tried to, you know, do as much in depth as I could, and, you know, show you the mechanics of how, you know, for me this rig works, you know, the hooking potential. And yeah, that's it for this one, and I do hope to see you in the next one to show you one last, you know, thing of the rig. And yeah, great, we'll see you in the next one.